Well, hello and welcome back. Welcome back. So, you have been through the first five lessons, right? So, lots and lots and lots of lovely comments and lovely questions coming back. Um, and it's all basically there in those first five basic to brilliant. And what we're going to do is we're going to build on that. We're going to build on a little bit more from some of the comments and questions that you brought in for me. And one of the ones that was kind of most interesting is why people this why are you using circles? Why circles? And I thought it was a fantastic question. So I'm going to go into that a little bit more about why are we using shapes? Why? And how we can develop on from these shapes. And by building down these basic shapes, it builds a strength and a confidence in our own drawing. And I'll go into a few more examples with that. Um, and we'll explore those shapes of like a head from a circle, and we'll bring them into squares, and we'll see how we can kind of adapt it a little bit. But also that at this stage we're only drawing a head, so maybe a circle doesn't really mean too much. But once you start to draw a complex horse or a whole person sitting on a chair or something, these circles and these squares and these kind of tubes, sausages and things like that will all start to make sense more, and you start to be more confident about putting a very very complex drawing put together. And by putting and getting into these very 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 simple habits at the beginning will give you that confidence to go on and do more complex drawings. um You've also talked a little bit about if I can use some more light, the light and shadow. Can I put that in some of the later examples? I will love to do that because I think it's something that will bring your drawing to life almost. Once you start to draw something and once you start to put a little bit of light and shadow on it, it really, really makes it an exciting drawing to look at, especially when you start introducing color and then light and shadow on color. It'll become incredible. Okay, and styles. Can I talk a little bit more about styles? Um, I had mentioned in lesson two of Basic to Brilliant about using a pencil and using a brush and using a dip pen. Um, and if I could do a little bit more on those styles and how to develop your own style. And I think a lot of times of developing your own style comes from the more you draw, and it's something that I really try to bring into it. If you're drawing for fun, you will draw more and you'll draw happier. And if you draw more and more and more happy, you start to loosen up and you take away all that stress and pressure that you get when you're all tight, and you'll develop a style. But we'll talk more about that. Um, can I talk more about expressions from the head designs that we gave? Okay, we will go into a little bit more evolving from the basic expressions from happy and sad. We'll go in there and we'll develop a little bit more, and we'll show you about using different styles, by different head shapes, and then breaking it into different expressions, which would be a really good exercise to do, especially once you start to do cartoon animals and things like that. It's a beautiful way to start to understand the face, understand the muscles of the face, even in a cartoon form. And that brings a lot of powerful expressions into your character. I've also been asked about my room. What are the pictures behind me? I didn't even think about the pictures behind me. What are you guys looking at? You should be looking at my drawing. Okay, well, let me give you a little guided tour of my room. Okay, in the corner there is Charlie Chaplin. You can't see it because my top hat's in the way. But that's a Charlie Chaplin by Ralph Steadman. And these are absolutely gorgeous Ronald Searle prints. I've got four of them. My children bought me these, and I absolutely love these, especially that camel is just And if you don't know who Ronald Searle is, well, you really need to go and buy a Ronald Searle book. He is one of the greatest artists of all time. And there at the end, I've got a couple more Ralph Steadman prints, one of a kind of hog, and then one of from Fear and Loathing. But the Ronald Searle ones are probably the ones that you can kind of see more of. Look at those. Can you see those? Stunning, absolutely stunning. And they were bought for me as a gift by my children. So that's the artwork behind my head. Ronald Searle. And I have 4 of those prints, and they are just everything. Oh, there's one more on this side. There's another Ralph Steadman one on that side. In fact, if I walk over here, you might be able to see a little bit more of my studio. There is my studio. And that's where I draw and I stand. As you see, there's no chair. I just stand. And there's all my pictures running down there with all my inks and everything. And there's more inks and drawings and stuff on that side. So that's my studio. And this is my desk. There you are. There you go. It's like a big wooden desk that I stand on. It's like an architect's table. So that's my room. If you have any more questions, shoot them over. So, hit the subscribe. Come on, I need you guys to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and we'll get some more videos coming through. This is going to be another batch of teaching videos. The first 5 have been done. Brilliantly happy with those. Very, very nice. Just touching some very basics, nice and quickly, explaining the basics and then letting you get on with it. So we'll go on and do a few more. Working from some of the questions that you've got, because we're working together with some of these teaching videos. You ask me the questions and we'll go in and help you teach up, okay? We'll get you more talented. So, a few more videos. And draw along, okay? Get your piece of paper, get your pen, whatever pen you want, whatever paper you've got sitting around, and just draw along with me, okay? You drawing along will get your mind active and get you all really focusing down on just having a bit of fun and enjoying it, okay? You ready? Get that paper and pencil, hit the subscription, and let's go on to another video, okay? Welcome back. We're going to go on and do some more drawing, okay? Now, one of the questions that was asked was about drawing with circles. And one of the things that we had explained, I'm using a pencil here, I'm using a 6B pencil, was about using this divide with the face. And one of the things that we were talking about here was this whole kind of understanding that this expressional switch with this dividing cross would give us very, very different expressions. And just by moving that, what we designed in lesson 2 was the fact that if we had a lovely character there with a very cute little nose, and if we had the eyes, eyebrows, and if we gave him a very nice smile, we had one character. And by changing this divide, as in lesson 2, what we actually came up with was this whole thing that we had somehow changed the whole expression of the character. And the same way that if we gave him a lower mouth, and the very, very, very basics with that, we were changing the character. And by doing slight difference to the actual drawing, for example, if we did 3 more heads, and if we did something where we kind of gave him a different nose, in the same kind of position, and we gave him little eyes, So it was giving us massive control here for changing our basics of our character. In the same way that if we did a lower down, we could again give him bigger eyes. Again with our divided cross. And we could give him a little nose. And that gave us a lot of power. That gave us a lot of choice. You know, we could even change his expression. And suddenly, all of these things changed to the point where we could start to use some of these divide lines here, these kind of pivotal lines, and we could actually put more character into it by changing the size of the proportions within it. For example, a larger nose and smaller eyes. And that was a very, very simple way for us to control our character. And also that's an element then of also bringing in some of the characteristics when we're getting into designing characters and things like that. So what happens if we decide that we're going to change the structure of the head? What happens if we come up with, say, almost like a square head? I'm just curving these lines to add a little bit more kind of human feel to it. But at the same time, we're just drawing a square. And if we control our proportions, this gives us a whole new range for our character. So if we give him a nice angular nose, and we're thinking up front, we're thinking here, what do we want from this character? Do we want him to be a clever character? Do we want him to be a nasty character? Is he an evil bad guy? Is he the hero? Is he a little schoolboy? What is he? Is he an old man? And what we can do from these very basics here, we can start to think, well, okay, well, let's make him into a schoolboy. Okay? Now, let's give him a nice little schoolboy smile. And let's give him some nice bright eyes. Even if it's a little black dots, we can raise his eyebrows to show how excited he is. We can start to think about hair. And we can start to think about maybe giving him some nice kind of big kind of swoop of hair like that. And we can shade that in. Maybe we can put on this guided line here, we can put some ears, which is just going to be our semicircle. And we can add some hair on. And we've got a little boy. Okay? And the same again with that. Going back to this square. And keeping the head very, very structured in that same way. We could try and think of changing his whole... make him into an old man, for example. So, you're going to sit and think about what are the elements of an old man. Okay, maybe give him a bigger nose. Maybe it's a little bit more of a reddy color. And maybe you can add some little half-cut glasses to him, you know? Like a kind of grandfather style glasses. And these are just basically a little semicircle, okay? Nothing complicated. We're sticking to very, very, very basic shapes here. And you can do, instead of doing a full eye like the little boy is so excited like that, maybe you could just do like a little half eye. So it looks a little bit more tired. And you could do that here. So he looks like a tired old man. And instead of his eyebrows being up and excited, maybe we can just kind of put them down so it makes him look a little bit more weary maybe. Okay, so what else could we add to it to make him look older? Maybe like a white beard or a white mustache maybe. Okay, let's give him a big mustache. And we're just going to bring that out and bring this, a very large kind of, bringing it up to the center, bringing it down. And we can just add a little flick lines up just to kind of make it look like it's hair. And we can just put a little lip underneath. Okay, and maybe you could even put another line here, make him look like he's a little bit chubby, maybe giving him a second line. And what that doing is it's just basically working off the same shape. Okay, so maybe the thing of having maybe no hair, maybe that would also make him look older. Maybe you could just take it from the side of the head, and you could just work out, just working the line out, and you could bring a hair that hangs down like that. And what that's doing is it's giving us all the kind of standout elements. There's a couple more little flicks up there that look like hair, that look like an older type character or a different character. It doesn't have to mean older, but and we can just put his little ears on the side, the same as the younger boy. And already we've got, from a very simple basics there, we've got two very, very different characters. And the excitement on that starts to go, well, okay, well, what happens if I want to do this type of character or that type of character? You just sit and think about all the elements that you wanted to add, and you could change it just by the very simple points, like I explained here, about changing some of those proportions. If he was like a kind of big bully boy, maybe you'd have him a little bit more beefy looking. Maybe you'd have him like a big thick nose on him, like he's a boxer or something, and maybe he's got little eyes close together because he's a little bit stupid looking. And you could start to think of all these elements that you think of, and you could put them down in the simplest of forms, putting them down in a circle or in a nice square. And that gives you so much potential then from this basic form. Before you start getting into too difficult drawings and stuff like that, you can start to practice. And the practice of drawing shapes and adding a face onto it, and then changing that dimensional cross that I've been explaining here, and moving that up and down, and it starts to give you a new look to your character. Then you're starting to think about smaller eyes, smaller nose, bigger. Does he have a beard? Does she have long hair? Whatever these elements that you're adding. And before we talked about drawing a cat in lesson 3, I think. Okay, so even if you had a square, you could still do the same thing again. And you could divide it on. And you could put your little triangle nose like we did before. And you could bring that center line down like we did before. Same as the lesson. We were working on a circle before. And we're just trying to break it across here. And maybe we'll make him a little bit of a kind of grumpy cat. Okay, we'll give him a nice kind of long mouth. And we'll just give him a big angry tooth at the end of it. Okay. And what we'll do for his eyes is we will keep the same pattern that we've done. We'll give him little eyes. And we'll give him one big angry kind of tough guy eyebrow. Just running across like that. I'm a tough cat. And the same again. Instead of having big fluffy ears like you would with a pretty cat, you wouldn't have it so much fluffy. You wouldn't have it so big and elaborate. You'd have little short ears because he's kind of a little bit of a tough guy. He's not very good at listening. And you can have these little ears on him. And you could probably even put an earring in one of them, like a little earring or something like that. Give him a little tuft of hair like we were explaining before. You remember the old pattern that I showed you before in lesson 4, I think it is, with the hair, You remember the Disney styled hair that I was showing you? And you could add that on. And there you have. Give him a couple of whiskers. And you've already come from doing very basics on your circle, and then you've gone into a different shape, which is this more square. And it gives such more different dimensions to your character. So, this is a fantastic lesson for you to kind of broaden out your characters. Now, The same again with some of the elements about the character design. Once you start to get to this, for example, with this cat, what kind of body would you imagine on that type of cat? Would you imagine a very skinny body? Would you imagine a fat body? Would you imagine a big, hunked over shoulders, hanging arms, or what do you imagine? And this is where you start to then take that character, take what was exciting about your image in your mind about what it was. What does this character look like? Okay, so he's got big shoulders. He's like a big, and you can just build that on top. Okay, so let's just take another piece of paper and let's try and build this character from here. So we know our cat. We're going to draw his face on this kind of square. Going to give him a little tuft of hair. We're going to give him little ears because he's not very good at listening. And on our cross, we're going to give him a little nose. And we're going to bring that down, and we're going to bring out and going to give him his tooth. We're going to give him our big angry eyes. And we're going to give him his little whiskers, little 4 whiskers. And that basically is your cat. Okay? Same as what we've done there before. Now we're going to think of what kind of body. We're going to have to give him a big body. We're going to show how big and tough he is. So I'm going to start the body so that we're almost going to get these shoulders being up here, okay? And we're going to bring in this big line above him. And we're going to build a big box for his body to be on. And now what we're doing here again is we're just building a square head onto a square body and keeping our shapes very simple. Very, very, very simple. The simpler we keep it, the more we can add to it later on. But it's also, the simpler we keep it now, the more confidence we will build up in our drawing. The more confidence we build up at the beginning, we will love drawing more. And that's the important part. So, there we have our big square-bodied cat. Now we want to have very big arms on the side, don't we? So maybe we could just carry that out, and we could just very, very roughly, we could bring down, same on the other side, we could bring down these arms. And we could give him some very big muscular arms. So with this big, chunky, muscular kind of bully cat, what kind of legs would he have? What do you think? Should we give him little short stumpy legs? That might be funny. So let's just give him some little skinny legs. A little bit like what we did on the cat on lesson 5. And we're going to give him some little bent legs. And then we'll give him some little domed feet like we did before. Just a little dome shape. And that's our main design for our character. Now what we've got here is we can start to think then about some little fun details. What would he be wearing? Well, maybe if he's a big tough guy, maybe he's got like a little vest. So let's draw a little vest on him. Let's just bring that line down, like the straps of the vest. So we've got a nice big line that comes down. And that gives us a nice big vest for him to be wearing, like it's almost like he's got, like you could probably write gym on it. And this just builds up the idea of what kind of a character he is. He's some kind of big, muscly, okay? And we can just lightly, with the side of our pencil, like we showed you before, just with the shading in, and we can just give it a very light idea of what his t-shirt, his little vest is there. Lovely. So there we have it. Already we're starting to build this character to him. We're building this idea that he's a big muscly cat, that he goes to the gym, he's got a vest, he wants to show his big muscles off, he's got, you know. And what we're going to do is we're just going to finish off that arm. We're going to draw it in nice and dark, just a big straight line, and we can just draw the hand very simple at the moment, because we just maybe have a wiggle line there, so it shows like his knuckles, you know, like this part. Womp, bump, bump. We draw that. And there we have a big muscular cat. You know, you could add anything you want to it. You could give him like some kind of big chain or something around his neck, you know, like that. And what you're going to do is we're going to think about maybe he's got some like running shoes on. So in our dome we can do a little square there where we can put some circles on it for like the shoe holes, the lace holes, and then we can do some like little stripes on the side, and then one at the front, and that will look like a running shoe. Okay, so let's just draw that in so we can see it a bit more clearly. And this is just us getting the basic shape. There you go. Maybe even one at the back. And this is just maybe even a wiggly line at the bottom, so it's like all the grip at the bottom of the shoe. And that's basically what we'll add in there and there. So if you add that in, and it just doesn't have to be perfect, we're just trying to enjoy it here, okay? There we are, and the little jiggle at the bottom. Same again on that side. And all we're doing here is we're just trying to have a bit of fun. We're just trying to draw a character that's nice and simple, that we can have a bit of fun with. You can shade in his shoes, same as we just did on the other one. Alright, so we could give him some socks, just a little line up there. And then we draw his legs like that. And there we have, there's a ground line. And we have taken this whole thing from a very square designed face into a very square designed body. So what's happening here is that we are starting to develop our mind to think ahead of what type of character, what type of expression we want to have, and then simplifying it down into shapes. Okay, so in this one we've taken a simple square head to a square body, and we've made everything very angular on top, and we've come up with a very simple character. So I hope you will have a little bit of fun with this. I hope you will get in there and practice some of those basics there of just keeping everything very simple. And the same with the hands. I mean, the hands here are very simple. I've just done it like you can kind of see this part of the hand, that his hand is kind of curved over, you know. From the side you would probably see his hands like that, you know. So you can just see this part, this bump of his knuckles. So he's like a big tough guy. Okay, and you can have fun with it. You can see what you've done, and maybe you could put a big watch on one side, you know. You could kind of give him some jewelry. Very, very simple, keeping everything very basic, very, very basic at this point. And give it a little hands. Maybe on this side you can kind of give him a big chunky bracelet. And it's just basics. We're just basically working with shapes. From that, we're going to go on to the next stage, and we will show you some some elements more about how to bring into your design, okay? But for this time, please go back and practice. Go back and see the very, very basics that we've done in this lesson and just practice along and draw along with this video. It's a very short video. It's only 20 minutes. Run it back, play it through and draw along with me, okay? If you have any questions, send me a comment. And we will go on and we'll do some more lessons straight after this. We'll go on and we'll do some more design elements about how to really make that flat character into a little bit maybe of a three-dimensional character. Maybe using some light or bringing in some design elements that will define your character in the drawing. Okay? So keep it simple, keep it in the shapes, and we'll go on to the next lesson. Thank you very much for watching.